Hi. So, with everything coming out about Fakatsu no F, and, you know, the stuff about the dub being released this summer, I mean, I've been on, more or less, just Dragon Ball Z high lately, like, I've been having I've been, you know, watching / rewatching the series, I've been checking out the manga a little more often, getting into more TBZ discussions with my friends, and one of the things one of the things I see about people who are familiar with the old dub, who have grown up with the old dub, or the English dub, or preferred dubbed anime overall. One of the major complaints I see about the Japanese version of Dragon Ball Z, aside from music, which is kind of understandable to be honest, but one of the major complaints I see, the number one complaint I see in fact, is Masako Nozawa's voice as Goku. Like everyone says, oh, she sucks, she's not supposed to sound like that. I mean, she sucks, Goku's not supposed to sound like that. He's a grown-ass man, he shouldn't be having the voice of an old lady. So, when I hear people complain about Masako Nozawa as Goku, and how she just doesn't feel right for the role, I don't agree with them per se, but I don't exactly disagree with them either. I can see where they're coming from, because honestly, the first time I watched the Dragon Ball Z, the first time I saw the Japanese version of Dragon Ball Z, Nozawa's voice as Goku just struck me as being just odd. I mean, it just didn't. It took a while for me to get used to her. Okay, I like her now, but it did take a while for me to get used to her. I prefer her to, although I do prefer her to Sean Schemmel. When it comes to old dub Sean Schemmel versus, when it comes to like 1999 Sean Schemmel versus Masako Nozawa, I think Nozawa wins hands down. But I think 2005 like Kai era Schemmel, and of course Battle of God Schemmel, I think easily surpasses Nozawa, in my opinion. But of course, I mean, like, people who defend Nozawa often say like, oh, Toriyama chose her to be Goku, that's what Goku's supposed to sound like, whether you like it or not. Whether you agree with us or not, it's always unquestionably superior, and yada yada yada. And in Japan, like, and I can see where I can see where we're coming from, because in Japan, it's really very common for a woman to voice a man, for a woman to voice a male character, a grown adult male character. It's common for someone to do that in Japan, where where a woman voices a male character. That's not out of place at all. See, but the thing is, Japan has a much broader view of masculinity. I feel like they have a much more, you could say, lax view of masculinity, where you can be feminine and still be considered masculine. At least that's the feeling I'm getting. But in America, we have our view of masculinity is, you know, big ass muscles, a deep voice, handlebar mustache, the works. So it makes sense from a Western perspective for someone like Nozawa not to fit. I mean, look at it this way. Okay, if Akira Toriyama were American, if Akira Toriyama were American and Dragon Ball Z was a Western cartoon, I do not think that he would choose a woman to voice Goku. I don't think it'd be like that. I do not think that Nozawa would be chosen to voice Goku if that were the case. I mean, look at it this way. Can you imagine Tara Strong voicing Batman? I mean, just imagine, like, Timmy Turner's voice coming out of Batman. Like, we reserve women's roles in voice acting for little boys. Like, you know, again, Timmy Turner, Dexter from Dexter's Laboratory, yada yada yada. The idea of, again, like, just a woman voicing a grown man from a Western perspective, that just doesn't sound right. It just doesn't. It takes a lot of getting used to. And I'm not saying, like, I'm sure there are Americans and all that when they heard Nozawa's voice, they just instantly loved it. Just like I'm sure there are people in Japan who, when they heard Sean Schemmel's voice as Goku, they instantly loved it. But, I mean, again, this is just me speaking in generalizations here, so, yeah. So, with all this in mind, does Masako Nozawa's voice as Goku suck? Honestly, I'm going to chalk this one up to... It's all subjective. I mean, really, again, Japan, different views of masculinity. America, different views on masculinity. It's just, it's that simple. It did make sense for Funimation to hire a male character to voice Goku, whether Japan decided to or not. Whether Toei decided to or not. It did make sense for, it does make sense when people say that Masako Nozawa's voice as Goku just isn't right. And it makes sense, of course, when people from Japan would have no problem with it. I remain neutral on this subject. I like both. I like Schemmel and Nozawa. I don't really think one or the other is, again, 99 Schemmel is easily surpassed by Nozawa. 2005, 2010, Battle of God, Schemmel easily surpasses Nozawa. I'm just like, yeah, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So yeah, tell me what you guys think. Comment, rate, subscribe. Peace.